Hey, good morning. Welcome to the December 8th edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. I'm Darrell, and I've got the guys with me.
Hello. Brr, cold.
Hello, people.
And, Nebraska weather is supposed to possibly have freezing drizzle the day that our volleyball team drove down to the south and the Louisville regional.
Yes, and Cook is so excited about the 10 a.m. start.
Yeah, he's not happy, is he?
Oh, I wouldn't be either. And he made a perfect point. You know, you don't have NCAA tournament start at 10 a.m. You know what time you have to get up and get your warm-ups going, your stretching going, your breakfast going. Get fired up. I mean, not only do you have to wake up and get motivated, you got to get fired up, and hopefully the tournament itself makes you fired up. But, man, you got to get pumped because you're about to play the number 3 offense in the country.
Yeah, and his point was all the working people, they don't get to take the day off and watch it at 10 a.m. And us that work second shift, we're just like, yeah, hey, well, great, 10 a.m. We can actually watch it.
But then the whole game.
Yeah, but then we record this in the morning. So the reason I brought that up, if you have an ESPN app, you can watch the replay tomorrow. Just about anything that's ever carried on ESPN, they will do a replay through the ESPN app. So Nebraska's taking on Oregon here at about 10 o'clock, and we hope we get past them. Oregon has the number 4 offense, and we have the, number 2-1 defense?
Something up there. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys remember me saying before the tournament started that volleyball is almost like basketball, where it's chalk all the way through. So every regional, it's 2 versus 3, and it's 1 versus 4 except one of them, and it's 1 versus 5. So really no real upsets coming through. I mean, it plays out just like you think it's going to. And it also, to me, it shows the seeds were correct. The teams that they had ranked 1, 2, 3, and 4 were the 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, you know.
And Kansas is a fairly good volleyball team.
Mm-hmm, they do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember them going a long ways one year. I don't remember exactly how far, but then I kind of looked back on it, and the last time Kansas-Nebraska played was in the Final Four in 2015.
Oh, dang.
So,
okay.
I don't know if that was the year we won it. It might have been. Might have been the year we beat Florida or...
Also, Kansas has a transfer from us, and she happens to have a national title ring from when we did win the title. And they said when she was walking around, they didn't see the national title ring. She wasn't wearing it. But you can't blame her because it's a Nebraska ring and she's at Kansas. So,
right, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what we do. Let's stay on NCAA. Let's stay in NCAA sports.
Okay.
The football playoffs are a few weeks away. The bowl games are coming up. I find it interesting how many guys are in the transfer portal for teams that are going to bowls. And for a while, it used to be, hey, I'm going to get ready for the draft. And now it's, I don't want to be with your team anymore because I'm going to transfer.
Yes. I heard like 2,000 guys have jumped in the portal, and I don't know like which ones are in bowl games or whatever, but I did see Alabama has like 9 leaving. Clemson has a few. I mean, I haven't really seen too many of the Nebraska guys yet. I don't know if they're holding out.
We have double-digit guys in the transfer pool.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and Alabama's guys leaving, of course, they're 5 stars, but I don't know how big of a deal that is because that's about all Alabama gets anyways, 5 stars. But they got some pretty big people leaving. Mm-hmm. So,
and we're not even Nebraska. We're not just losing transfers. We're losing commits. The in-state commit from Pierce, one of the, I want to say, top 5 tight ends in the nation. Or I probably had that number wrong, but one of the top tight ends in the nation is going to Iowa State now.
Right. Yeah.
And then Coleman, the Lincoln kid, decided after we switched from Mickey Joseph to Matt Rule, he decommitted.
Yeah. Malachi.
Yeah.
I think they can still get him back. I think the door is open. I think he just did his due diligence. Like, okay, I have the door open. Let me go ahead and pull this back.
Yeah.
And see, maybe throw a little more NIL money his way or something. But I think we keep him. I don't know.
I hope so. I wanted to bring up the transfer portal because I read an interesting article that Mike Leach and his running back must have butted heads. And if you're trying to motivate a kid, you're not always going to connect with them. And this kid tweeted that Mike Leach must have called him soft.
Oh.
And that was after he, in one of the earlier games in the season, said we need to run more. We need to have a more balanced offense. And I think Mike took offense to that and probably did his pirate thing. And he's like, no, I'm the captain of the ship and you need to quiet down.
It's funny you talk Mike Leach headbutt with a running back. Like, does he even have running backs in his offense? Because I think they're just probably glorified blitz picker-uppers.
Right. Well, yeah, because he loves to run and gun. And they showed his run numbers. I don't disagree with the kid. I've watched a number of games of his where he has the game in the bag. And he should run to turn out the game.
Shorten it out a little bit.
But he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I just found all that interesting with all the transfer portals and the decommits and all this coming up with.
And on that page right there, so if you have the game in hand and whatever's working, we always say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If your quick screens and your little slants or whatever working and you're moving the ball, by all means, keep going, keep your quarterback in that groove, then receivers are making plays. But once you have that second, third and out, 3 and out, or you didn't make it to the 50 and the other team scored again, now you're like, okay, hold on. It is broken. Now we have to run the ball. Now we're going to have to try to change it up a little bit because they're all over what we were running the first 3 quarters. But yeah, he's like, no, it worked. No, dude, they've caught up. They realize what you're doing. But a lot of these coaches, like especially Mike, is so bullheaded. Like, no, you can't beat this. We have a 18-point lead going in the fourth quarter. How did we lose by 2?
You saying that makes me think what Scott Frost said at one of his first press conferences. Yeah, the Big Ten will be changing how they play because they'll be changing it. Because we're going to change the whole league. They're not going to be able to keep up with us in 5 years. Well,
they're going to change their offense to us. Yeah. Or defenses for us. Yeah.
The playoffs officially start December 31st. Michigan versus TCU in the Fiesta Bowl at 4 p.m. Huge matchup there. And the 8 p.m. Peach Bowl is Georgia versus Ohio State. I'm going to call Ohio State's going to upset them.
Really?
I think so.
I'm just so glad we didn't have, me and Roger had talked that we don't have the Ohio State-Michigan rematch. And nothing against them. I don't know if TCU, Ohio State, which one should be the 3 or the 4. I don't care. I'm just glad they set it up the way they did. I think Georgia wins it all. They look so tough. Their offense isn't scary, but their defense is.
I agree. I say Ohio State upsets them, but the way it is on the paper, Georgia had tough games all season long. They weren't a covering machine,
right? But
they were a winning machine.
Winning, yeah.
And I call it an upset. There's just a chance that they could come in because it's such a long time from the last time they played. So many things could happen. You never know. I just like stirring the pot a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the committee got it right with the 4 teams they got in. I know a lot of people, sit there and say that Ohio State getting blown out should keep them out. Alabama's 2 losses were close. I just hear a lot of people talk about Alabama should have been in because they never got smoked. They play in the toughest conference. If Ohio State played their schedule, they'd have 2 losses and so on and so forth. You hear, that's Alabama's arguments, but the 6th ranked team, which is Tennessee, they can be like, well, why should Alabama get ahead of us? We beat them. And we do play in the SEC, so we do play the same schedule. So why all of a sudden are we not getting talked about? Why all of a sudden is it Ohio State, Alabama? Tennessee's like, we beat them. And we played Georgia, Alabama didn't. So we might have played the tougher schedule. So I think when the committee comes out and says, well, we gave it to Ohio State because they were 1 loss and Alabama was 2. And most of your fans agree with that. They don't get into the analytics of the game and break it down. But the people that do, So I think the committee said, well, instead of let's stirring up controversy with, potential Alabama instead of Tennessee or Ohio State, I think the committee just come out and said, yeah, we took Ohio State because 1 loss. I think that's kind of how it broke down, is what I think.
What if this was the year that they started the expanded playoff? How would that expanded look, do you think?
Yeah.
Who would have been the 8th, 9th, or The odd team looking out, I should say. Who's the odd team looking out complaining?
Yeah, well, So we talked about that last night. We were talking about it going to the 12 teams and everybody's excited. I'm like, well, I don't think it matters because the top four are always going to be the top four. But now our argument is who's fourth or fifth is, well, who's the 13th through the 15th? That 15th team could be the 12th. And to me, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're the 11th, 12th, 13th, or 14th team. Just to say I got in to get my butt handed to me by 27 in the first round, because like we said, if you look at 9, 10, 11, and 12, they really don't hang with 3 through 7, up in there. So I agree with you. The argument's just going to change down the road. We won't be arguing who's number 4, who's sitting right outside, hoping they'll lose. It'll be who didn't even get in their conference championship, by the way, probably has 2, maybe a third loss, and you want them to peek in,
This is my segue to the NFL. It kind of reminds me of the wild card playoff where you have the different divisions and you have another team that didn't even get in a wild card with a better record that's sitting out because they're in a better division.
Right.
But the other division has like almost 500 teams or even maybe under 500 teams that snuck in.
The South.
Because they won their division.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we talked a little bit earlier, I don't have those magic numbers that some of these places have to get all this. But there's been numerous times a 10-win team from another division did not get in, but a team that was barely 500 or, an 8-8, a 9-7 team got in because he won their division, which that's the way it's supposed to be. The division winners get in. That's always been known. But, here you are in a really tough NFC East, a prime example. There's a good chance that Washington don't get in or the Giants, one of the two, because of the tie, might not get in now. There's still a few more games left to get pushed in, but yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the Giants. Let's go to that one. Let's go directly to the NFL. The Giants play at home against the 11-1 Eagles. Eagles, earlier in the week, I looked December the 6th at the line. Eagles were favored by 7 that day with 45.5 unders. And today, the line went down to 7 and with the unders at 40. So stayed at 7, just the overs changed by half a point. Roger, what do you think about this game in New York?
Well, the Eagles are starting to answer everybody's questions. They, a lot of people, us included, talked about the Eagles struggling in the second half, not playing real good late in games, and the last few weeks they've done that. They've outrushed their opponents 2 of the last 3 games. They've came back in a game against the Colts. They blew out whoever they played last week in the second half.
The Tennessee Titans, who all
Tennessee
3 of
Titans,
us picked.
yes.
We all picked. All 3 of us picked the
Tennessee Titans, that's right. They just smoked them. So, I mean, some of the things that we feel that the Eagles were lacking in, they're starting to answer all them questions. I'm starting to believe that this team is pretty good. I mean, I really am. That being said, they travel to the New York Giants. And I feel that they win this game. The 7 points, I think I'll take the Phillies to win right at that 7 points. So, yeah. Okay.
Eagles, they cover with a push, is what you think?
Yeah. I'll say it's right at 7 points.
Yep. Okay. The Giants are on a 2-loss streak with a tie, so they're 7-4-1 at home. James, you mentioned that could play into the end of the division playoff seeding.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen?
I'm with Roger. I agree. I still don't really truly believe in the Eagles. They played well last week against Tennessee, but watching that game, it was the one that we had on here, and Tennessee looked terrible. I was like, where's the team that I watched played Kansas City? Where's the team I watched played Cincinnati down to the end? 2 of the top teams in the AFC, by the way. You go in to play Philly and this, hey, we got to let this receiver know. That guy wasn't even covered. Brown, who left the Titans, went to the Eagles, wasn't even covered 3/4 of the time. He's just catching open balls. 1 touchdown, I think there was a guy 10 yards in him, and he's backstroking into the end zone. After that game, Tennessee fired their GM. Like, whatever he told the owner that we don't need this guy or don't pay him, whatever, and then he goes off for 200 yards and beat your team handily. Again, I don't want to take anything away from the Eagles because you're right. They have surprised me. Even going into that game, I thought Tennessee's defense would play well and put a little something on it. They definitely racked up some yards. Division game, that's why I put this on here, was, Giants are so hurt and they're still depleted. But they are playing tough. I mean, they played Washington at Washington to a tie. What a back and forth game. I see Philly winning, but again, yeah, it's super close. I could see it being really field goal, last minute. I just don't know. Giants just don't have the guys on the defensive side experience enough to hold off a 2-minute drive that they might need to do at the end of this game.
I agree with you. I don't know if it was a letdown last week by the Titans, but it wasn't the Titans team that we had seen. And I don't know if it was the injection of Ndamukong Suh on the Eagles defense that decided, hey, we're going to stop the rush and we're going to focus on the rush. And they actually did it. Mm-hmm. And they changed their defensive scheme a little bit. But I don't see the Giants slowing them down. I think the 7 points might even be a little bit low. So I'm all in on the Eagles on the road in the Giants, and I think they're just going to get them. So now a team that is also at home, the 49ers, are hosting the Bucs, and the Bucs just look so different from last year. The Bucs are sitting at 6-6. The 49ers are at 8-4. They lost their quarterback to what I thought was a broken ankle, but they're saying, well, no, maybe not.
Yeah, supposedly it's a foot now, and he doesn't need surgery. So there's a chance if they can get maybe out of the first round or whatever, Jimmy G could be back.
I think that's an outside chance.
Way outside.
Because they were talking about a LaFranc injury, which is really bad. It takes a long time to recover all the little fun bones in your foot, which 3.5-point favorite for the Niners with Brock Purdy at the helm, 37.5 overs. James, do you think the Niners have enough in their stable with McCaffrey, with Deebo Samuel, with their defense to get out of their home stadium and get a win? Oh,
yeah, just with the defense. I mean, they just got to hold the Bucs, which the Saints just did, until the last second. Saints had them beat, So, excuse me, they barely scored 17 against not a great Saints defense. So, yeah, that Niners defense can hold them to, they're 13, 14. I think they're only giving up 13 a game. And, Brady's going to be harassed. There's no running game in the Tampa Bay. So on that side, I said, a few weeks ago that they will win. Whoever wins this division will be below 500. I think Bucs lose their next 2 weeks. They got 49ers this week, so I'm taking the Niners to beat them. They got Cincinnati after that. And then it's, Carolina, Atlanta, and somebody else. But they're going to finish 8-9, So, yeah, I don't see them winning next 2 weeks. Yeah, they don't win this week. I don't know much about Purdy. We saw a really good taste, I guess, against Miami, against a good Miami team. When he went in that game, it wasn't like he was given a 20-point lead. The game was in doubt, or not in doubt, but the game still had a lot to go. And he played really well. Does he carry it over? We'll see. But again, like you said, those weapons, even if they run the ball 45 times, I still think they beat the Bucs.
Roger?
Yeah, I'm going to say I think the Niners kind of dipped down a little bit. I'm not going to jump all over this Purdy and say that he's making the Niners a better team or still a legit team. I think the Niners got hurt with Jimmy going down. But now, I mean, if this Purdy can play well, I mean, it's who knows? I mean, I think this, like I said, I've always been on the Niners this year. I think the Niners defense gets stronger throughout the year. And we've seen in the past, and, we'll talk a little bit more about playoffs and whatever, but, I mean, we've seen good defenses go all the way to the Super Bowl and win it. And, I think San Francisco wins this game because I think Tampa Bay is just a terrible team.
They are so terrible.
I don't know how the Saints let them come back. I mean, that was the most. That might be one of the worst letdowns I've ever seen. Mark Ingram could have just ran the ball right for a first down, and they could have took two more minutes off the clock, or at least made Tampa Bay burn their timeouts. And why he ran out of bounds, and then why did they throw the ball on 3rd and 1? I don't get it. But these teams keep giving Tom Brady these chances to come back, and we all know he can do it.
2 weeks in a row.
He's been doing it for 20 years, but they keep doing it. I mean, if you threw a ball to Michael Jordan with 1 second to go, and the opposing team threw it to him, he'd make it. Everybody would be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he did it again." Well, I can, because he's the best. I mean, why do we keep giving these guys chances to prove you wrong? It's ridiculous.
So the Monday night game, I always watch the Manning cast when it's on. Those guys they break down the game differently, and I'm not a big, it just makes it a little more interesting, right? So they have their little guest, and the guest was already off the show, and it's at the very end of the game, and the Bucs have their one series. They go like 3 and out, and Peyton Manning goes, "That is like one of the worst offensive series I've ever seen this entire year. That could be the worst offensive series I've seen this whole year." Tampa Bay's right before their winning drive, that series where they went 3 and out, looked like got sacked right away, bad plays. They punt the ball away. Saints do the exact same thing. And he goes, a minute ago I just said that was the worst offensive performance. He goes, but I think the Saints just did it. He goes, that was terrible. He said, What are we doing?
Yeah.
They're both quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They both been in this league, did this, and they're like you're saying, why are we throwing the ball on 3rd and 1? Why are we not moving the clock? The last thing you do is give Brady. They made the Bucs use their timeouts, which is great, but then you don't follow it up with stopping the clock for them.
I hang it on the coach. Because we texted a little bit, and Roger's like, "What is going on? Why would you throw on 3rd and 1?" And I think I responded back, "Well, that looks like inexperienced first-year coach, doesn't it?"
Yeah,
going against the grain, like, "Oh, I'm going to look like a genius when I do this." No.
Yeah. Now Mark Ingram's done for the year. It's like, I don't.
And again, the Saints defense, but they're not great, but they put up a good fight, held him to 10 points. All we need to do is run out this clock because we have Dalton, who played a solid game, for some reason fell apart in the fourth.
Dalton hit every pass.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that Taysom Hill shouldn't have caught that ball because, I mean, that Tampa Bay guy did put a helmet right on the ball and knocked it loose.
Yep.
But, I mean, that was a perfect pass.
Mm-hmm.
Taysom Hill was tucking it away and boom. And you're just like, really? If he would have hit him high or lower, Taysom Hill catches that ball. But he put the helmet right on the ball.
Yep.
And I'm just like, here we go.
Moving to the Vikings on the road, the Lions, 5-7, are favored by 2.5 points at home against the Vikings, who are 10-2. The overs are set at 53.5.
No.
Okay, so that was the line at December the 6th, and I haven't looked at the line yet as of today. And the line went down to 2.
Right.
Yeah. And I think they got it right. I think Detroit wins this game. I do. Yeah. Detroit can put up some points. And at home, I think they get it done against this Minnesota team.
They've won their last 4 or 5. Their only loss is against the Bills by a field goal. So they're playing really good ball. Well, they've been playing good ball all year. Just some bad mistakes here and there. They had the Eagles beat second game of the season. They had Minnesota beat earlier in the season and let them come back.
They got shut out by the Patriots, so one week.
Yes, there was definitely a loss.
Because we were just talking about before that game, we were like, this is the number 1 offense in the league.
Right.
And then they get shut out by the Patriots.
Yes. Yeah, because I think we picked Detroit mainly because, the Patriots couldn't score with them.
Yeah.
And right. But they're on a streak, and I'm one of the ones that are on that. The Vikings are like the Eagles, to others. Nothing against the Vikings. They're very mediocre. They've won the games they should win, maybe one that they shouldn't have. But overall, they're not world beaters. They don't look like they dominate games. Here's a division game, a team coming in hot. And oh, by the way, we almost beat you. We let you off the hook. We're not doing it this time. So, yeah, I agree. I think Detroit wins this game at home.
I'm going to be the naysayer. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think it's going to be I think the Lions possibly even cover. I think it's a 1 and then or 2, which would be a push game. But somehow the Vikings just get it done, just enough. The Vikings defense is not great. They allow a lot of passing yards. They allow over 100 rushing yards. But so do the Lions. The Lions allow 150 rushing yards and allow 260 passing yards. Okay, Lions, Vikings. I don't know. It's going to be close. So,
yeah, them division games are tough, especially this late in the season. Yeah, I agree.
We have the Jets on the road to the Bills, and weather could play a huge factor. I haven't looked to see if weather could be a factor, but I mean, it's New York, upper New York, and they could get dumped 6 feet of snow again. Earlier in the week, the line was 9.5 by favoring the Bills, with over set at 43.5, or I'm sorry, 44, and the overs went down to 43.5. Bills are still favored by 9.5. Jets, win some they shouldn't, lose some they shouldn't, but so do the Bills.
Right.
Yeah.
And now the Bills are without Von Miller. Obviously, he was out the last couple games, but now they know he's done for the year.
But also, Mike White, he had the one breakout game to come in and replace their quarterback, and then the next week, I don't know if the defense has just figured him out and how to figure out how to frustrate him, because he played frustrated.
But also, in that Minnesota game, he had 2 chances to come back. The defense gave up 27 points, but then they made the stops at the very end of the game, which was nice. And that pass at the end of Cherios, that's a touchdown, except he's not known for his hands. He's a return guy, you know. And, you know, we talked earlier about how the pass to Taysom Hill, the helmet right there, again, the pass is right there. Mike White makes the perfect throw. And, you know, the defender, I think, gets a little piece of his hand on the ball, and Cherios just fumbles it all the way to the ground, doesn't catch it. But that was a touchdown. They beat the Vikes on that play. Again, reason, here the Vikings we were just talking about again that I think don't really, they shouldn't have been. They're at home against the Jets with a backup quarterback. They should have owned that game a little bit more. Jets giving up 27 kind of caught me off guard, and that's why I'm leaning more with the Bills. It's not Mike White. It's more of their defense isn't shutting down. They have a really good D, and they're talking about that when Zach was playing, like, hey, this is a Super Bowl defense. We need to get a different quarterback. But, their defense hasn't been lights out last few weeks.
Yeah.
Earlier in the season, they beat the Bills, and that was at home, but this is on the road. Roger?
Right.
Yeah. I kind of went back and forth on this game. Mike White has thrown for over 300 yards. I think he's actually averaged 342 the last 2 games, which is tops in the NFL. So we know the guy can pass.
Yeah. And just think if he had that running game.
Yeah. And but I think the Bills have enough defense to shut them down enough to cover the 9.5 at home. I think it'll be a 30-20 game or so. I think the Bills cover this game and win. So,
did you give me a pick? I did. If you did, I missed it.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills also, mainly because the Jets did hold the Bears to 10, but they were without their quarterback. But again, 27, and now the Bills are getting almost like a rematch. One game not on our list, which I don't think a lot of people are going to watch tonight, is the Raiders at the Rams. But it's a thing of Baker Mayfield getting yet another chance. They're talking he got a crash course in the offense. It's looking very likely he is going to play. I don't know about start, but he's going to play. They have numerous people hurt. I mean, the Rams are obviously dead in the water. Raiders have won 3 or 4 straight. They're, I can't say on fire because they should have been doing it all year. They lost a lot of games that they blew double-digit leads. So it'll be interesting. I don't think Baker's a very good quarterback for NFL. He's had his streak. He had his peak. I think he did peak. I think the Rams were reaching. I mean, the only teams that put in a waiver for him was the Rams.
But doesn't that smell of desperation?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It was a huge, they're like, we got to try something. Till the fans were trying with our 4 wins.
And I'm going to look at history. Sean McVay butted heads with his former quarterback, and he sent him to Detroit. And I don't think he was as boisterously weird as Baker Mayfield. I just don't see Baker Mayfield lasting too long in L.A. unless he has a turnaround with his therapist, and his therapist says, just zip that mouth shut.
Oh, my. Put the ego back in the box. Yeah. I think that's what gets in his way the most right now is he had that, what Roger talked earlier with the playoff win and all that for the Browns. And since then, he's been below average. You have to realize, even though you did it one game, that doesn't mean you're going to do it next week. And the week after that, you have to prepare every week. You can't just go, dude, I want a playoff game. Look at me. Yeah, good luck. A lot of people want a playoff game. And where are they now?
Yep.
All right. Any other games? I know those are the main ones we touched on, but any other games we wanted to just...
No, but the playoffs, we can touch a little bit on the playoffs. We did a few weeks ago about who we thought the top teams and who we felt were in the AFC. I mean, do the Bengals jump ahead to that number 1 spot? I think I'm putting them up there for now. I mean, they beat the Chiefs.
Yep.
And they've got 4 or 5 games in a row now. So,
it's the defense.
I like the Bengals. And I like the Bengals defense. I like the Bengals team. I like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's beat the Chiefs the last 3 times he's played them.
Only one to do that?
So...
The only one to do that.
I'm going to put the Bengals up there. I'm going to put them up there.
I saw the Bills first in AFC for me. I know they've had some slips here and there, but I think when it comes playoff time, they're going to be really tough. And then, Cincinnati. I had the Ravens earlier when we made it talk.
Yeah.
Ravens have left my talk as a top AFC. So,
they might be closer to the bottom 3 for me than the top 3.
Nuts.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yeah. I got Bills, Cincinnati, KC. I think they're the top 3 teams. Obviously, it's like Jordan. You can't count Mahomes out. But what Cincinnati did, Kelsey didn't catch his first pass the second half, and it was a 1-yard pass. He got some little yards after. But when Cincinnati stripped, I don't know if you guys got to see the game, but when Cincinnati stripped Kelsey of that ball, I was like, oh, man, he's going to remember that. If they face again, Kelsey might have a 100-yard game because he's going to tell Mahomes, this is my turn. But I think that really set Cincinnati like, dude, we are not scared of you. Even if you throw to this guy, we're going to be here all day and win the game.
Their coach, former Nebraskan, Zach Taylor. I can't say enough good things about this guy. True coaching moment here. You score a touchdown and one of your top receivers, not just on your team, but one of the top receivers in the game right now, can't shut his mouth.
Taunts.
Yeah. He taunted and he got a penalty.
And he didn't even score the touchdown.
He didn't.
It wasn't even his score. The other guys are celebrating in the end zone. He's over here taunting 2 defenders as they're walking off the field. Yeah, and Zach Taylor grabbed him.
He did. And did you notice what that did the rest of the game for him? He did keep his mouth shut the rest of the game. He didn't taunt anybody. Well, he did. He did. But not enough to draw a flag.
Exactly.
And Taylor's like, what are you doing? We need this game. Like, do you understand the importance of this? I know this is supposed to be fun. I know you're a kid on the playground and we're playing a game. But we're not in the Sandlot. We're on primetime TV. We need this. We need to get into seeding. We need to be above them when we need to get that bye.
Yes. You got to be professional out there, especially those big games.
If he doesn't win Coach of the Year,
what else does he need to do? Gosh. Right. Yeah. He took a team last year that no one even barely had him going 500 to the Super Bowl. Where's the love? And now here he started off 0-2. Now he's 8-2 in the last 10 games. Beat Kansas City. You know, I don't know what more you want this guy to do. And like I said, he wasn't a huge name floating out there when the Cincinnati picked him up. They're like, Oh, who's this Zach? Oh, he played for Nebraska, quarterback. Oh, coordinator. Yeah, it's Cincinnati. They're still going to suck. Good luck.
But smart.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think all those things motivated him to like, I'm going to show you naysayers. I'm going to show you what I can do.
But not only that, somehow, whatever he says, the players bought in. They're like, dude, a lot of times you get, like Rule going to Carolina. What have you done? Dude, you have nothing why am I listening to you? But on the flip side, Zach went into Cincinnati again, having all these things behind him and the noise of who is this guy? Cincinnati making another failure in a coaching call. And he got them to say, hey, guys, if you jump on this boat, we're going to go. And they bought in.
They did. Roger?
Yeah. Zach Taylor's been impressive. But moving on to are we going to move on to the NFC now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah. The NFC, I'm going to put Philly up atop. And I'll sandwich Dallas in between Philly and the Niners. I'm going to put the Niners down to third just because of Brock Purdy. When you're on your third string quarterback, I mean, I have to see what he does. I really do. I mean, if this kid comes and plays, then I think the 49ers could be the best team. I mean, but I'm gonna dip them down for now just because I want to see what this Brock Purdy does. Dallas. Like I said, I'm going to put them second. But they will not win the East. The Philly's going to get the East. Dallas will get the first wild card. And then they're going to have to go on the road and play Tampa Bay. And I don't know. I hope the defense shows up, and I hope they just smoke Tampa Bay. But, I mean, you get Tom Brady in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. You're a Dallas fan. Are you scared of it?
Yeah, because it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Once they played going in this year, and Dallas had the favorite coming in. They were going to play at home, first game of the season. Payback from last year, that was a close game by a missed field goal and a bad non-pass interference call and blah, 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 blah. And, oh, by the way, Brady has never lost to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So, yes, here the Cowboys are probably going to finish second because even if I still think they beat the Eagles at home. They're next game's coming up. They got, I think, Christmas time frame. They got the Eagles. They win that game, but Eagles probably don't lose in between there, so they're going to win the division. Cowboys will have to go on the road to play Tampa, who they struggled to win on the road anyway, and they haven't beat Tom Brady yet. So, yeah, as a fan, I'm like, well, are we going to change? Because even though they put up 50 on the Colts, that was not an offensive explosion of 50 points. That was a defense that got 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter to help the offense get 50 points. And a defensive score was in there. So I'm with you on the top 3, except I do have the Cowboys at the top. I put the Eagles next only because of Purdy. If Purdy comes in and he plays good these next couple of games, I'll move them ahead because I think if the Eagles were to match up, if the playoffs started tomorrow or Sunday, if it was Cowboys-Eagles, the Cowboys would be favored. And I think if it was Eagles-49ers, I believe the Eagles would be favored, mainly because that defense to take away what Jalen Hurts does. I think that's why I put the Eagles third on my list. It'd go Cowboys, Niners, Eagles. But right now it's Cowboys, Eagles, Niners with the question mark as far as how does Purdy... He's got weapons. I mean, they got a running game that will keep that rush at bay. And if he's good, I have no idea. Mystery relevant. We'll talk about that later. If he can do a play action, if he can do the sleight of hand thing and get those linebackers to bite, man, they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said earlier, it is possible that the Niners and that defense could make a run all the way to the Super Bowl. I mean, we've seen it in the past. We've seen at least 4 teams in the last 10 years. I mean, the Broncos didn't need Peyton Manning to win that Super Bowl.
No.
They could have won it with Tim Tebow. Seattle, the Legion of Doom, I mean, they just absolutely killed Peyton Manning and the Broncos. They didn't need Russell Wilson.
Was it the second or third snap was a safety or a touchdown?
The first snap of the game.
First,
Tampa Bay in 55 beating the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
They shut Mahomes down. He didn't do nothing.
But the Bears and the Patriots.
And then the Patriots and the Rams. The Rams scored 3 points. They didn't need Tom Brady to win that.
Mm-mm.
I mean, so it's possible that a team with a great defense like the Niners got could make a run all the way to the Super Bowl and win it. But you know, you like I said, even with the Niners defense getting better, I still, like I said, I'm still going to dip them down because I want to see what this Brock Purdy can do.
Roger, it sounds like you're telling me defense wins championships.
Yeah, defense can win championships. Yeah, we can also have an Eagles-Patriots game where offense wins championships and offense loses championships because Tom Brady threw for 500 and a Super Bowl record and he still lost. So,
Yes.
So
yeah, that reminds me of another stat. You can get numbers to tell you whatever story you're trying to say. So you can get the numbers to tell you that defense is the ones that win the championships. And like Roger's saying, in other games you can say, well, it was the offense that won the championships. So that was our breakdown of the top three for the AFC and NFC. So we're going to move on to the NBA for a little bit. James and myself are Celtics fans, and our Celtics just demolished, demoralized the Phoenix team at home.
One of the bigger teams in the West, one of the teams that are, set to be top three over there.
Let's say about the only team in the West, really, ain't it? I mean, who's second in the West that's behind Phoenix? That's what I mean. I think Phoenix is about,
Yeah, they have, Yeah, but when you look at the West, I mean, you still got to throw Golden State. Curry and Golden State are going to be there. Sacramento's playing really well, and the Celtics have beat them also.
After last night's loss, the Pelicans are above the Phoenix.
Yes.
And then in the other division,
yes.
I mean, it's nuts.
And the Pelicans are actually like 12-6, ain't they? I mean, they
Pelicans are 16-8 as of right now.
Well, yeah. I knew they were
Phoenix
about
are 16-9.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have Memphis Grizzlies. Denver's fourth at 14-10. Murray's still trying to figure it out. He, hasn't played for a long, long time.
And I think Memphis, if Morant didn't miss those few games, would be up there. They play really well. I like them a lot in the West this year.
But there's also some teams that are coming up. So on the East side, the Nets are starting to figure it out.
Yeah. Last week I said that they were 2 games away from 4th place. Now they're in 4th place.
Yeah. The Cavs on the East are still playing really good.
Yep. At home, especially.
Yeah. In the West, the Lakers are playing really good. And Russell Westbrook is having fun. To make that point, he interrupted the guys doing their little pregame show when he's doing the shoot around just to do a shout out to his kids and tell them to be good for their mom. So he's having fun.
Right.
And earlier in the season, we didn't see him having fun.
Mm-mm.
But now they're all having fun. Unless they're sick, like Anthony Davis left the game a couple nights ago because he was sick and didn't finish. But they're coming up. My point was they're coming up. The Bucks are still playing really good. The Mavs are about almost around
500.
Yeah, they're 13-11. But Friday's game, we have Rogers Hawks that are sitting at 13-12. They just dropped one the other night at the Nets that are 14-12. They're both right around the 500 mark, a little bit over.
Yep.
But that could be huge for both of them.
And I think coming off that Knicks loss, like I said, I think Atlanta, that game would have been a lot different. They just shot really bad. Maybe it's a good, not necessarily a wake-up call. It's still early in the season, but they're going to go against a similar offense. And with Julius Randle and Durant, just, tighten up the deal a little bit. And, Atlanta makes some shots. I can definitely see Atlanta winning this game.
I don't know what it is about MSG, Madison Square Garden in New York. You're either going to go off and have the greatest game ever, or you're going to go in and New York sucks the life out of you.
Right. And I don't get that either. I guess as, not playing in a big venue like that, they're like, there's one guy, I forget his name, but he has had his best games at Madison Square. He's like basically a 7th guy off the bench, but he's played really well. And he goes, I love it there. I've always wanted to play there. I've had some of my biggest games there. Why don't you, it's a 10-foot rim every stadium, right? Their rim's not, or the hole isn't any bigger than any. It's all in the head. And I'm like, wait a minute, New York's not even that good. The Knicks haven't won anything for you to go into that court and be like, oh my gosh, this is Madison Square Garden. No, you're not walking into the Staples Center. You're not facing Magic and the Lakers where you're in awe.
I really think Trae Young actually influenced Julius Randle's game last night because he walks into that game, and I'm sure someone pointed out to him, Trae Young put, I'm the king of Broadway on his shoes. So Julius Randle just had an amazing game. He ended up with 34 points.
He was feeling it. Yep. So I don't know what it is. I think it's weird because, you get the Staples Center gets the same thing, the Boston Garden. Jordan said he loved playing there. But, it's just, unless the team's winning, I don't know where the awe is going into there. So, the Knicks have played some really, really good games this year. They might have a solid season, but back to Atlanta, I think Atlanta can definitely give Brooklyn all they can handle.
They can, but if they did what they did last night against the Knicks, so two stat numbers jumped out at me. 39 rebounds for the whole team for Atlanta and 55 for the Knicks. If they do that again, they're done.
Yeah. Yeah, I said they missed so many shots. I mean, it was a rebound frenzy for the Knicks.
But also their shooting percentage from behind the arc was 16.7 for Atlanta.
Yes.
And overall, they shot 37. You're not going to win when you shoot 37%.
No.
So
I didn't look at the stat lines, and I haven't looked at the stat lines, but I was kind of following Atlanta because I was curious about how good this Murray's going to be. And he scores some points, but his field goal percentage is not good. Is not good. Yeah, and maybe it's gotten better the last couple of weeks, but I'm just guessing it hasn't. But I'm guessing he was like around 38% from the field, not just from the arc. I'm talking from the field.
Ouch.
So right now, overall for the season, he's shooting 45.2%, and he is averaging 20 points a game. DeJounte Murray, and he's day to day. He was banged up a little bit, so I hope he's back in because he can really inject a lot of offense.
I bet you his field goal percentage has gone up because I want to say it was lower than that, But maybe I was just looking at individual games, but I just noticed that he's had some pretty bad shooting nights. I mean, if you're shooting 18 times and you're only making 4, 5, 6 of them, you got to quit shooting. Give the ball up, because he also dishes out. He dishes out his assist, and he can get rebounds. Because earlier in the year, I was saying that his numbers were comparable to Trae Young's. They were all doing their 6, 7, 8 assists, 6, 7, 8 rebounds, scoring 20. But if you're cold, you got to give the ball up. You can't just keep shooting.
But sometimes that's part of that mentality where I want to be a winner and, okay, I missed the last one, but I'm going to make the next one. Michael Jordan famously said, I'm glad they didn't count my misses.
Yeah.
He's like, I missed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, Michael Jordan's was, a below a 50% field goal shooter. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't much below, but it was below. So he missed more than he made.
Right, and that was the point. So, but I agree with your point. If you're that cold, do the dish. Yeah. Get somebody open.
Yeah. And so, they do the heat checks. You make 2 threes in a row. You do the heat check. You make that when you're like, okay. Yeah. Now, and the rest of the team knows what? Feed him. Hey, Jaylen Brown's, he's a hot hand. Tatum, hey, he's a hot hand. That's what a good point guard does. On the flip side, the good point guard has to also go, hey, dude, I don't think you're feeling it today. Yeah. Let's at least get buckets in the paint. Let's not, you get your Tatums and Durant's and LeBron's like, okay, I can't hit a shot. I'm going to go to the hole. Go to the hole 4 or 5 times. Try to warm up. But, he's young. Murray's young. Yeah. But that's where you want Trae Young to go, hey, bro, we're not feeling it. Let's get a couple easy layups, get up maybe some free throws, but, you're just not feeling it tonight. And then you get the other guys. Yeah. But, when you're 0 for 7, I'm due. Right, but we're down 2, and I don't need you to be not due yet.
So here's an interesting thing. Ben Simmons is out with a knee. They're claiming he could potentially be back by Friday for this Atlanta Hawks game. Does that play into it?
Isn't it a knee and something else, right? I think he has 2 ailments.
Right now, I'm looking at the Brooklyn Nets injury list, and
it just has the knee as listed.
They just list knee. Yeah,
I think he had a knee and ankle issue, and it wasn't even like hurt. They just wanted to rest him.
Okay.
And maybe I read into it too much, but it's Ben Simmons, and it's the whole: is he still motivated to play right now? Do they have to re-motivate him after a quarter of the season, he's like, man, I don't like doing this every day. Man, we got another game tomorrow. Yeah, he's just doesn't.
Think about that. They paid him how long? A year and a half to not play.
Right. And now he's supposed to be ready. Now that, like you said, the Brooklyn wants to get it on track, get moving, get another win here, and start moving above the 500 mark. And you're one guy you're paying all this money to is like, I don't know. He could be legit hurt. I don't know. But he's had a lot of time to heal to be hurt already.
Earlier in the season, we were talking about the Sacramento Kings and how dominating their offense is, but they're sitting at 13-10, just above that 500 mark, and they're on the road at the Cavaliers, which, in my mind, are kind of hot.
Yeah, they did beat the Cavs earlier. I want to say maybe a week and a half ago, 6-7 games ago, they beat them at home. But now they go into Cleveland, and Cleveland is one of the better teams at home. I could see Cleveland, I think it was like 120, 125, something like that when they played the first time. Again, I could see it another 125 game, high scoring, a lot of layups, a lot of dunks.
Well, and the Kings are playing really, really tough opponents. They lost to a really good Phoenix team close. That was 122, 117. That was 5 games ago. The last game on the road at Milwaukee, they lost 126, 113. So they're putting up a lot of points. Right. And I bring that up because this year there seems to be even less defense than last year. The point averages are almost all above 100 for every single team, and some of them are even close to 109.
Right.
So it's just amazing.
I think it's more of we're not using the shot. No one really runs a play. It's a pick, roll, shoot, pick. Before it was 2 or 3 passes. Your Pat Riley's, your the Bulls coach. I can't think of his name.
Tom Thibodeau. Used to be. Gosh, what is this?
Bulls coach. The big, tall, skinny dude.
Yeah.
God, I can't remember his name. One of the, it's all the rings, who cares? Anyway, they always coach the offense, move the ball around, move it around, get a good shot. Now it's just go take your shot.
Billy Donovan. The current coach right now?
No. The one back that won it all. Was all the winning.
Oh, Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson, thank you.
Okay.
Phil
Jackson was sitting there like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I was totally blank. But in that triangle, you had to make a few passes to get the defense to rotate and find your open shot. That was the whole thing, was make the defense rotate a couple of times, get them out of sync, get your layup or whatever. Now it's go, 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 go. If we can take 75 shots this game and they only take 65, our chance of winning are increased. And there's more scoring, but again, with the extended travel these days, you can get a lot of layups, a lot of dunks. And the 3-ball is, everyone shoots 30%, it seems like. So, yeah, the scoring is just, I think the shots are going up a lot faster, a lot less play clock going off. Until the end of the game, of course.
Yeah.
There's 2 Friday games that I want to mention that are the ESPN games. The early game is at Philadelphia, the 76ers, which are right at 500 right now. And they host the Lakers, who are at 10 and 14. But the Lakers are starting to figure it out, starting to click.
They did lose their last 2 in a row. They've lost 2 straight coming into Philly. This has got to be a get-right game for Philly. They're getting some players back. They cannot let LA come into their home and beat them at all.
Philly misses Tyrese Maxey. He's out with a foot, approximately 3 to 4 weeks, small fracture in his left foot, and they miss his offense.
Oh, yeah. But they still have enough.
They should.
They should. Right, exactly. They should. They have a very talented team.
I don't get it. So that's one to look at. And then the Mavs are riding Luka Doncic's coattails again. The kid's just unstoppable at point. But again, that's a team that's just sitting around 500 because they got rid of Jalen Brunson. They don't have another guy that they can rely on.
They got rid of Porzingis.
Yeah. Well, I think that made them better.
Right. But
Luka did not like Porzingis.
They did not get along, but they don't have anything in complementary. So they'll be 500, and then if they make the playoffs, it's, hey, Luka has no help. It's like LeBron in Cleveland.
Right. I think the Bucks come in and just clobber the Mavs.
Yeah.
But I think, again, Luka probably puts up 30 points.
Yep. It's too bad for Dallas and Jason Kidd where you hope the GM or Cuban, somebody's doing something like, who Luka, who do you want? What can we do to bring in? I can't bring in an Anthony Davis or a Giannis or an Embiid, but there's got to be somebody out there we can make a deal for to get us at least to the finals, for crying out loud.
Or at what point does Luka's manager say, hey, let's go to a different team? We don't think Jason Kidd's the coach. You are the key player here, but can you check your young ego a little bit, kiddo? And can you go to another team? Could you go to a Phoenix Suns and contribute the same way and have a little bit less of a role but win more?
Are you willing to win more and play less? You put them with Chris Paul and Devin Booker, your shots are in half easily, and you're going to touch the ball half. And I think he loves the ball in his hands, but when you got Chris Paul, you got to, and we know about him choking and not making it and blah, 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 but he still runs the offense. So Chris Paul is going to be dribbling the ball, and Luka's got to be like,
Roger, would you like Luka on the Hawks?
Oh, well, there ain't no room for him on the Hawks.
I know. I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm playing what if.
Yeah,
there isn't any room on the Hawks because Trae Young and him, I don't think could coexist.
I think Luka's outstanding.
You'd have to trade Trae Young for Luka.
Well, and that's what happened when they both got drafted.
Right.
I think the Hawks drafted Luka and then traded him.
So hindsight
for another pick and Trae Young.
So hindsight 2020, would you rather have Luka right now? Or would you rather have?
I think so.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more they win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Luka would make the Atlanta a lot better.
I definitely would. I definitely would want Luka over Trae Young.
Yeah.
And I'm not upset about Trae Young.
No, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Not a terrible player. Yeah, he's really good. But yeah, now that you see what Luka's doing, I don't know what made them do the trade. If it was he won't be able to later, or he wants to play the foreign games or whatever. But yeah, some reason they traded him.
Yeah, I think Atlanta took him 3rd overall and then traded him for the 5th pick and another like a 10th pick overall. They got pretty good little selections of picks or whatever you want to say it. But,
so yeah, Roger hit the nail on the head. The Hawks drafted Luka, Dallas drafted Trae Young, and then they sent Luka to the Mavs, and they gave Atlanta an additional 1st rounder.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So another question. What coach or what team would Luka be the best at?
The Clippers. Trade Kawhi Leonard to Dallas. Take Luka. Get him with George and the rest of that crew. Kawhi Leonard doesn't play anyway. I mean, I think he just had a game or two recently, but you can't depend on him.
No.
Bring Luka over to the Clippers, and I think the Clippers are all of a sudden a beast in the West.
I'm all in on that. That's amazing. If you can play NBA 2K or whatever NBA game you play on your PlayStation or what have you, dude, that'd be an amazing trade.
I would love it.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah. Genius.
Let me get on. I'll get a hold of Bart Cuban today, and we'll see what we can get that in motion.
Yeah, have him send the plane over for us. A Saturday game. The Celtics are in San Francisco at the Warriors. The Warriors are sitting at 500 right now, 13 and lucky 13. This is an ABC Saturday night game. 7:30 tip-off.
They better not lay an egg. I mean, after this Phoenix game, coming here, I think they're staying on the West Coast, so they'll keep the sleep schedule the same and blah, 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 blah. But obviously we know what happened in the finals. Obviously we know Green and his talking and getting in their heads. Man, it's a different Celtics team. There's several different players, a totally different coach, different style. It's still Boston. It's still Golden State. Go in there and make a statement like you just did against the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah. And it's obvious Warriors rested some players again, and they're getting ready for this game.
So what you're hearing is I just pulled up the Nebraska-Oregon volleyball match, and I'm completely changing the subject here a little bit. But Roger, what did you just say?
I said that the Warriors rested some players again. They rested Draymond Green, and they rested Steph Curry, and they blew that lead against Utah. And but obviously, I think they were looking forward towards this Celtics game.
Yep, I agree.
I think you're 100% correct. So it's going to be huge what the Celtics will do at the Warriors, but the Warriors are amazing at home. And
They are. Their wins are mostly on the road. I think 90% of their losses, are on the road. They win at home pretty good.
So do the Celtics have it in them? And that's why we watch it. I think it's going to be amazing because it's going to be a rematch, per se, of what they can do. So the Celtics are going to go in there going, oh, we got to get them. But are they a little bit overconfident? But they have amazing depth right now.
Yeah.
And their interim coach is playing more of the bench. That's something that Ime didn't do.
No.
Ime didn't go as deep. And I really enjoy seeing Blake Griffin out there. Last year when he was on the Nets team, he didn't have enough conditioning because he didn't play very much. But he's on like every fifth game he'll play a little bit, but he contributes enough. He contributes in the rebounding and assists and just getting the crowd hyped.
Oh, he sets a screen.
Yeah.
Oh, he will set a screen.
And helping the guys on the bench go, just stay ready. Just stay ready. Because I saw a clip where he has his arm around Peyton Pritchard, and you can see him say, just stay ready, dude. Because when they need you, you're going to need to go in there and perform at a high level. So just stay ready. You're part of the team. You are part of the team. Just stay ready.
Well, it's like the backup quarterback. Not only, obviously, they're not getting hit in basketball, but you're one tweak of an ankle away. Marcus Smart or, somebody tweaks an ankle. Pritchard, you're in. We can't have you run in there and go 0 for 7 because you half-assed your warm-ups, because you're like, I'm not going to play today. I already know. He's already told me that I'm probably not going to be in. It's my rest day, but I'm suited. And then, boom, somebody tweaks, and you're like, hey, you got to be ready. And I'm anxious to see Brown, Tatum, Horford, Smart, and all them going back into Golden State after those playoffs and not do don't remember last year. They move on. Don't even think about last year in the finals, playing in that stadium and struggling and blah, blah. Go in there and own this year,
Their defense is amazing still.
Right.
Hauser, Derek White, Marcus Smart, just playing amazing defense. It's phenomenal.
A lot of fouls to give.
Yeah. Staying in the realm of basketball, NCAA, we were hoping the Huskers would continue their on-the-road streak of beating ranked teams. It ended last night. Sam Greisel didn't get to play because of illness. But the reason I brought that up, because they're on their, I want to say, 5th iteration of a starting lineup and potentially 3rd point guard that they had to try out. So it's that next man up. Are you ready to play?
Right. And I don't know.
They had it in single digits for a while.
I don't know how long they knew he wasn't going to play. But again, it was bad shooting. I mean, good grief. It's the end of the second half, so I'm watching the game coming home from break, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. Oh, it's almost halftime. Nebraska calls a timeout, drop a play, get a little pick at the top. He goes to the lane, he goes to kick it. Indiana's right there, picks it off, fast break the other end, dunks it, and there's like 2 seconds left on the clock before half, so their 9 or 11-point lead jumps to 13, and Indiana goes in high-fiving each other, and I'm just like, oh, no. And we played great second halves, but just
their defense.
They were really out of sync last night.
They were. It was the most points they've allowed all year.
Yeah. It doesn't get easier. You got a team that just beat Gonzaga and Duke, and their big guy is really, really good. The 7-footer, I don't even know his name, but Purdue 7-footer, he can go off for 25, 30 if you let him. So Nebraska's definitely going to have their hands full, and you got to make shots. On the road, you got to make shots.
Yeah, number 5, Purdue, undefeated.
4. They're not
up to 4.
I think they went up to 4.
Okay,
and that's their next game. So you're right; it doesn't get any easier because we are in the Big Ten. But the Purdue Boilermakers get to come to Lincoln, and that is a Saturday 1:15 tip-off on BTN. Number 4 Purdue comes in. Hopefully Sam Greisel's back. Walker was playing great. I did watch it a little bit. I was trying to go back and forth between the Lady Huskers, who just demolished Wisconsin last night. I had them on at the end of the game, and I was listening to the Husker men's, and they kept saying, their defense is breaking down. Their defense is breaking down. But then when I switched over to watching it, I don't know if it was breaking down. Indiana just used their offense to pull them out of their coverage on the defensive floor and just Made them look silly in the second half.
Yep. Indiana moved the ball a lot and well. You know, they were in some kind of a groove last night. I don't know, maybe they don't sleep on this Nebraska team. They took that Nebraska's couple wins to heart and were like, oh, no. So, yeah, Indiana was definitely ready. They did not let this be a trap game for them for sure.
Yep.
Earlier in the week, I had sent both of you guys jump into the NHL. The top rankings right now. I know it's early in the season, but they broke down the top rankings. And the Bruins are sitting on the top. The Devils had that amazing streak Roger talked about. They're second. And the Vegas Knights, followed by the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars have a guy that's just playing lights out right now. And the Seattle Kraken's fifth. Toronto Maple Leafs are sixth. And the Mavs, the Colorado Avalanche, who won last year.
The champions are down at 7.
Yeah.
And granted, it's hard for me to call the Devil. They're my favorite team. I don't follow hockey enough to say, oh, my boys are in there. I can't remember last time I seen them in the top 10. You know, it's been 10 years, it seems like. But yeah, the Avalanche kind of surprised me because they didn't really lose anyone. They were expected to kind of not run away with it, but kind of stay at the top 3. And I'm just wondering if maybe they have an injury or two or just not scoring like they did last year. But they definitely have a talented team still.
Yeah, it's an early season. And I think that, I assume that the Avalanche will climb their way back up towards the top. So, I mean, they're only about a quarter of the way into the year. So we got a lot of season left. So we'll see what happens.
We do have a lot of season left, and anything can happen. Before we started recording, we were discussing some off-season stuff for Major League Baseball. And I want to bring that back up. So do you remember what we were talking about, guys?
Yeah, we were talking about
300
contracts.
million?
Yeah.
So who most recently signed is what brought this conversation on. So
Alexander Bogaerts left the Red Sox, went to the Padres, 30 years old, 11 years, hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And why did you think that didn't help out the Padres?
Well, they've already have Machado with too much money. They have that young shortstop. I can't think of his name.
Fernando Tatis.
Tatis, yeah, who just got in trouble for enhancing. So he was suspended his 80 games or whatever it was. So he even hurt him in the playoffs. You imagine if they had the bats, they might have been them in the World Series over Philly if they would have had that guy that was so selfish that he juiced up. I say juiced, but enhanced instead of just doing it correctly. You have a team. But anyway, they handcuff themselves. They're going to have a great lineup, but they don't have great pitching. And that's what hurt them last season. And, you know, obviously they made it farther than anyone thought, including myself, but you couldn't get over the hump, you know.
Yeah, and I don't understand with the Padres why they're all in on every player. They were all in on Judge. They were all in on Trey Turner. I'm like, you already have a shortstop. What did you expect Trey Turner to do?
Didn't they get
sign
the guy
with you and go play second? There's no way he's taking that shortstop spot from Fernando.
No.
Fernando's got a rocket arm. I mean, I ain't saying Trey Turner's a bad shortstop. He's not.
Right.
But you ain't taking that job from Fernando. So what did they expect him to do? Come in and play second base?
Right.
Play DH? I don't know.
Didn't they just get the guy from the Nationals?
Yeah, Juan Soto.
Yeah, they went all in with him too.
They went I don't even exactly know what they did with him. I don't know if they got him signed to a contract or not yet. Maybe they do. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. But he's on their roster as of right now.
Right. Yeah. Again, the lineup is, you know, right up there with the Yankees.
Yeah, they're just, they just keep adding.
Your Yankees kept Judge, which I was surprised they did.
I
was surprised they did. But also, another surprise for me was the Astros. I guess I shouldn't say but Verlander left. Verlander left for a lot of money to go to the Mets.
2 years, $86 million.
Yeah, he's making $43 million a year, just like Max Scherzer is.
Yep. And
so I don't know.
If I'm the Mets, and I have no idea how that's going to go, and I don't know Verlander's makeup, what he's thinking. But he's 40-some years old, or right at 40.
Yeah, he's 39 now, but he'll be 40 by next year.
When the season starts.
And Max Scherzer's 39 next year, too. So
I think that's what the Astros were thinking. Like, well, okay, you guys want him? Yeah, go ahead.
Why don't we do the John Smoltz? Why don't the Mets take Verlander, dude? You can be our 8th, 9th guy. I mean, he's used to pitching 6, 7 innings, 80, 90 pitches. If you don't need a real closer, if you can bring Verlander in the 8th inning and close out a game, pitch the 8th, hey, the 8th and 9th is yours if you want it. Again, he's older. He can keep his stuff stronger, keep his arm, get more games out of him for that $43 million a year. I think he should, again, I don't know if this has already been talked about or whatever, but if I'm the Mets and I'm looking at my lineup and my pitching that I have, I'm asking Verlander if he could be my long reliever or just be my Smoltz. And because Smoltz was a great closer, most closers 1-2 pitches, might sneak in a third pitch. Smoltz had 5 pitches. When he came in as closing a game, you're just like, mother, what?
Yeah, when he was closing games, he was still behind Mariano, but not very far.
No,
he was good.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I was like, why don't the Roger Clemens, wouldn't that look great on a resume? I won all these games as a starter.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. Had a little bit of technical difficulty where it just stopped recording as we were talking about the end of our Major League Baseball trades in the offseason. I do appreciate you all listening. Go watch some sports.